Welcome to Devakshar. Namaskar. As you all must be already aware that we are bringing to you the book How to Overcome Mental Tension by Swami Gokulanadaji Maharaj in a series format. We are sure that you must have watched our previous videos. Today we bring to you the last part of the first chapter, Stress and the Body-Mind Complex. Maharaj says, today people all over the world are anxious about the problem of mental tension. Scholars, psychologists, psychotherapists are all disturbed by the situation. Doctors and psychiatrists have been trying to determine the cause of tension and conflict and search out remedies by which to overcome the problem. Let us catalogue the different causes of tension by considering a series of cases. For instance, if the head of the family leads a balanced life and is never agitated, it is sure to have a positive effect on all the members of the family. But if he leads an agitated life, always fretting and fuming, angry and aggressive, there will be no peace in the family. The first thing to note is that tension is present in certain individuals. Next, this tension percolates in interpersonal relationships. Tension in a group or community is the next in line of this spreading chain of stress. Suppose we live in an apartment which has 3 floors. The tenant is on the top floor, someone else on the first floor, and the landlord on the ground floor. All may be on good terms till tension is generated around some particular problem. For instance, one of them has an Alsatian dog which barks loudly and keeps the others awake. The others object, and the owner of the dog gets angry at the criticism of his beloved dog. This leads to unpleasantness and there is tension in social relationships. The basic necessity for the removal of nervous tension completely from our mind is to have a clear understanding of the cause of tension. For this, in turn, we must know the working of the human mind. Nervous tension is no doubt psychosomatic, but it depends mainly on the mind. If the mind is healthy, we can get rid of nervous tension. Frankly speaking, nervous tension is not restricted to householders alone. Even some monks and brahmacharis suffer from it. Sometimes they cannot go according to the schedule, they just leave and go to the Himalayas. When they return, if they are asked why they left so suddenly, they reply that they had been suffering from some kind of mental fatigue. This is a fairly common phenomenon. Maharaj continues, I remember an incident. Once a brahmachari approached a senior monk and said, Maharaj, I am under terrible mental depression. Fortunately, the monk was an out and out Shankarite, a staunch Advaitavadin. He looked at the young brahmachari and said, Oh, you are suffering from mental depression. I see. Now tell me, are you the mind or the body or the eternal spirit? The young brahmachari got his answer, a solution to his problem of stress. He said, When I do not forget my divine heritage and the higher dimensions of life, I am the Atman. Then I am neither the body, nor the mind, nor the sense organs, and there is no problem. But when I forget my true nature and come down to the lower plane and identify myself with the body, mind, or the desires of the mind, its feelings and other sensations associated with the body, I suffer. In effect, the answer given by the senior monk to the brahmachari is applicable to all who are prone to mental tension or depression. As long as we have fragmentary perception and associate reality with the body mind, we suffer. Why do we associate reality with the unreal mind? If you believe that Atman alone is real and you are that Atman, then you have no problem. Fortunately, the brahmachari understood this immediately. He came back from his meeting with the senior monk fully satisfied. He realized that his mistake was in putting limitations to overshadow his real self with unreality. The cure to his problem and to that of all who have a similar problem is to be conscious of our real nature. If we have to find remedies for nervous tension, we must be aware of the working of the human mind. According to Hindu psychologists such as Patanjali, there are 5 states of the mind. Sometimes the mind is called Chitta, that is, extremely restless, when it is prone to tension, emotional conflict, and worries. It can also be Mura, inert. We often find people who are dull and inert under the influence of tension. Each of these states of mind is under the influence of one of the 3 gunas. In the Kshipta state, the mind is under the influence of rajas, which is characterized by constant activity full of tension. The Mura state is one of tamas, where the mind is prone to passions such as kama and krodha and so on and so forth. Patanjali spoke of a 3rd state, that is vikshipta, a state in which the mind is at times able to attain partial concentration. It is possible to have a state which is in between these. Maharaj is explaining this with an example. Suppose a son is disobedient. If he is under the influence of Kshipta and you try to control him, he will revolt. In the state of Mura, he will not react. In the state of Vikshipta, he may or may not listen to you. In moments of sanity, he may admit that your words have truth and he is willing to obey you. At other times, he may do as he wishes. The 4th state identified by Patanjali is Ekagrata, that is, concentrated state. This can be seen in people deeply absorbed in their work. For instance, a person absorbed in a study, a painter painting, or a singer singing, or a person working in the office with total dedication, all in the true spirit of a karma yogi. All these people display the mind full of concentration of Ekagra Chitta. The last of the 5 states is called the Niruddha state. It is a superconscious state which is akin to Samadhi and not many people can attain to it. Maharaj now summarizes these 5 states once again so that they leave an everlasting impression on our mind. He says, let me repeat Patanjali's categorization. Number 1, Kshipta, extreme restlessness. Number 2, Mura, inert. Number 3, Vikshipta, partly concentrated. Number 4, Ekagrata, fully concentrated. And 5, Niruddha, superconscious. To illustrate the last 2 states, Maharaj gives examples of meditation in a temple. He says, sometimes when you come to the temple and sit down to meditate, you may have become absolutely immersed and not wish to leave your seat for a long time. As a bhakta, if you concentrate on your Ishtadevta, you may be so deeply merged in the deity that you are absolutely unconscious of your surroundings. You are enjoying spiritual bliss from within. Such a situation is possible when the mind is in the Niruddha and Ekagrata states. Swami Vivekananda, as a great yogi, had experience of these states. In his famous lecture on Raj Yoga, he dealt with the second yoga aphorism of Patanjali. In his explanation, he referred to the 5 states of the mind and said, the chitta or mind manifests itself in the following forms: scattering, darkening, gathering, one-pointed and concentrated. To elaborate this, By scattering, Swamiji meant the Kshipta state in which most of us fetter away valuable energies. As a cure to this, Sri Aurobindo, the great saint of Pondicherry, taught that we must learn the technique of training the mind in such a way that we can gather our energies for some useful purpose. He said, we must know how to gather ourselves up. Instead of doing this, most of us are just dissipating our energies in different directions, which results in suffering. Concentration of the mind or Ekagrata is the sine qua non of a really peaceful and integrated life, and to arrive at this state, we have to know how to gather ourselves up. That is what Swamiji also meant when he spoke about people who are unable to find solace as they are scattering their valuable energies. The next description given by Swamiji is darkening, that is Mura, which does not react in either a good or a bad manner. Under the influence of tension, it is inert like a stone. The act of gathering is to collect the energies and focus our attention on our divine self, because that is our true nature. This is difficult as we use up the valuable mental resources in the pursuit of phantom pleasures of the world, and the precious human birth goes in vain. The mind is diverted from its true self and its divine nature. So the mind, which is Kshipta or Mura, should be brought under control by the act of gathering or Vikshipta. Though the mind is prone to move in different directions, an aspirant and a seeker of truth has to make an effort to gather it together. This state of concentration is followed by Ekagrata or one-pointedness. For instance, in this state, a person who sits for meditation is successful. The mind is still and does not wander aimlessly. In the lotus or temple of the heart, such a person visualizes the picture of his beloved deity, a living, smiling presence, effulgent and compassionate, showering blessings. It is an experience of unending joy in the company of the chosen idol. This is possible only in the state of Ekagrata. If a person can remain in this state for long, he is preparing the way for the next state, that is Niruddha. In such a state, as Swamiji said, there is no more birth and death, and I become free. These 5 states of mind, Kshipta, Mura, Vikshipta, Ekagrata, and Niruddha, according to Patanjali, and scattering, darkening, gathering, one-pointed, and concentrated, according to Swamiji, are to be remembered carefully before we talk about solving the problems of stress. Every day, we should make a sort of self-analysis. Maharaj explains how to do this analysis. Before I begin my day's work, I should try to analyze whether I am in the state of Kshipta or Mura. If the former state prevails, I shall not be successful in whatever I do, and this will result in tension. If I am in the Vikshipta state, I shall succeed, but this is not the end. I shall have to aim at being Ekagrachitta. This will bring me to a tension-free state. In this way, awareness of the workings of our own mind and its impact on bodily responses goes a long way in overcoming mental tension. Hope this lovely explanation of Maharaj as to how to overcome your stress will help us. In the next session, we start the next chapter, that is chapter number 2, which talks about role of higher values in resolving mental tension. Till then, stay tuned to Devakshar. Do subscribe to our channel, share and like the video. Thank you so much for watching Devakshar.